So it is hereditary then, or can be?
A small number,
Okay.
but enough that it's worth keeping an eye on.
Right. So if you do have a history, be sure to let your doctor know.
Absolutely.
And they probably will want to have it sooner then. And what I missed what you said about 10 years. You said something about 10 years before.
They think that it basically, from the first cell going bad to becoming a full-on cancer, is somewhere between 5 and 10 years.
Right.
So if you go inside and see something slightly abnormal, you've hopefully been able to prevent it from turning into cancer.
I gotcha. I gotcha. Okay, thank you. Now, if a person experiences these changes in bowel habits or the rectal bleeding that you just spoke about, is it something that they should seek immediate medical attention? I guess my question is it a medical emergency? Is it something they should rush to the emergency room with, or a simple phone call to their doctor, or what can you help me with that one? Yeah.
Most of the time, it is not an emergency. If you are pouring blood out, of course, that's a different story.
Yeah. Yes.
But it's not unusual for other non-cancer things to lead to bleeding, such as hemorrhoids or diverticulitis that many people suffer from. Yes. If you see blood, absolutely make the call. But if you're otherwise feeling okay, you can undergo a routine evaluation.
Right.
And by routine, I mean in the next week or so.
Right. I was just going to say I certainly want to be soon, but it wouldn't necessarily have to be immediate.
Right.
But, yeah, the next week or so, right. Well, and you mentioned diverticulitis. I know I mentioned during the segment that a lot of the symptoms of colon cancer also show up as symptoms of some other bowel diseases, such as, I think I mentioned colitis and diverticulitis.
Right.
Is that right?
Yep.
Some of the same symptoms.
And that's why it's so important to get checked out, because it'd be good to differentiate between them, but all of those things can be diagnosed in the same way by looking inside.
Right, right. Huh. And I know there is, well, you're the expert. You know better than I. I'm not a doctor.
You could be playing one on TV right now.
I was just going to say, some people think I play one each week, but for those of you who watch regularly, you know I'm not a medical doctor. But now I've completely lost my train of thought on my questions, so we'll move on. But if it comes back to me, I'm going to ask you. So maybe you could tell us what are some of the causes of colorectal cancer?
So, some of them are debatable. There's a whole laundry list of things that we recommend you avoid or do. The main things would be, well, the very main thing is just by chance, what you might want to call bad luck. Individual to you, nothing you did, nothing in your genetics. It just can happen sometimes.
Just happens, just the luck of the draw.
Exactly.
Wow.
Family syndrome, as we mentioned, those can account for a number of cases. Inflammatory bowel disease, there's two diseases, Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis, that are pretty commonly associated. Alcohol has been associated, to a very limited extent. Diabetes and some other disorders have been associated, but it's not clear.
Sure. Now, you mentioned alcohol. We often read or heard that a little bit of alcohol is good for you. Do you believe that's the case, or do you stay away from it completely, or how much alcohol might affect what we're talking about today?
It becomes a question of balance. One thing that is good for one part of you may be harming another part of you. And it's important to kind of assess.
Right.
The alcohol risk in colon cancer is probably not tremendously high. If you have a beer or two, you shouldn't rush out to get a colonoscopy.
Right.
If it is as and the heart protection is still a little debatable, but more people are harmed by heart disease than colon cancer, so it may balance out. Sure, go ahead, have that glass of wine. I don't think anyone can absolutely say
for certain. Right. I was just going to say, it kind of goes back to what's that expression? Everything in moderation.
That's a great phrase.
Everything in moderation.
Absolutely.
So there you go. There's the answer. Everything in moderation. Well, we were talking about colorectal cancer being, as I put it, kind of the luck of the draw, unfortunately, if you get it. But is there anything that a person can do to try to help ward it off or prevent it? And I guess I'm referring to things like diet, exercise, screenings. Help me out here with that.
Everything you said is completely right. The main thing is screening. A colonoscopy is no fun for anyone, probably at either end of the procedure,
Right.
but it can absolutely, it can save your life if something is caught before it has a chance to go bad, or even if you have a tumor, you
Right.
can still be cured.
Right.
But as far as less invasive things, exercise has been shown to be of benefit.
The exercise is beneficial.
Yes, absolutely. Even if you're diagnosed with colon cancer, you will do better the more you exercise.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right. I didn't
So
know that.
get out there, walk around the block.
Walk around the
Yep.
block, do whatever you can do.
Right. You do not need to be
exactly.
pumping iron,
Okay.
300 pounds. Just
Okay, right.
walk the block.
Right, just to walk around the
Yep.
block, yes. And some folks never get off the couch, so
Right.
you know,
Do
if
it.
you just
Do
do
it.
what you can do, what you feel comfortable doing, it's going to help.
Yep.
Right? Okay.
Aspirin can be of use, especially people with the genetic syndromes will be recommended to take an aspirin. Diet's a little less clear. There are some studies that say fiber is a benefit, some that don't. Some studies say fruit and vegetables are a benefit, some don't.
Really?
You can't go wrong by eating fruits and
I
vegetables
was
and
going to
fiber.
ask you that, right.
Right, it's not going to hurt you. So and the benefits in other things such as heart disease, cholesterol, all that are so high.
Sure.
Even if it's not going to help you with colon cancer, do it anyway.
Do it anyway, right. And again, in moderation too, right? You know,
You can have the ice cream too.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, that's good to know because I love ice cream, and that's a weakness of mine, and this is one I have to remember what I just said about moderation because I could eat a bowl of ice cream every day. Are there any special foods that come to mind that a person might want to have on a regular basis, or just the ones that you mentioned?
The fiber studies,
fiber.
some for, some against, but it's easy enough to do. That I probably would recommend a high fiber diet, you know, less processed foods. There's some maybe association with red meat.
Okay.
Red meat, it may also be bad for your heart, but again, don't let it stop from having the steak.
Well, I was going to ask you that because I've read that red meat is a major culprit in colon disease, cancer, or colon disease, and not necessarily true.
You can find a study whichever way you want, which leads me to believe that there may be something to it, but not 100% cut and dried.
Again, back to moderation. Have that steak occasionally, but you don't want to necessarily have one every night. Right?
Sounds tempting.
It does, doesn't it? Oh gosh, we're getting a couple of questions here, and the first one says. Oh, actually, I was just going to ask about the preparation for the colonoscopy, and then this person is asking. I heard there are new abbreviated preps for the colonoscopies. Is this true? A friend of mine has gotten sick both times that she tried this test. And are there other options? So
there are a couple. The standard prep is the whole gallon of stuff you have to drink throughout the night before. There are some others which are a single bottle or two. There's some question as to whether it's really going to clear you out enough. Not only is there medicine there to make you go, but the sheer volume, a full gallon of fluid is just going to push things out. If there is a problem, you can try the lesser amount, but unfortunately, sometimes it's not good enough. And they're going to have to do it again, and I think everyone would rather avoid that.
That's true. I was just going to say better to get it done right
if you
the first time, if you can, right? And I know that's very difficult for a lot of folks, but if you can, then you don't have to go through it a second time, which is true.